Hi, this is Angela Valenti-Romeo. Colliding Worlds Radio and Colliding Worlds TV did a lot of adventuring at the Palm Springs International Film Festival. This is the 26th year for the festival, and it was amazing. The movies, the foreign films were outstanding. The directors, the authors, the actresses we were able to talk with were wonderful. They were very, very interested in Colliding Worlds, just like you all are. And we're going to bring you little bits and pieces of all these interviews. They were wonderful. So stay with us and we'll take you on several amazing journeys.
Contour Dermatology and Cosmetic Surgery Center has been a trusted source for cosmetic and medical dermatology for more than a decade. Board-certified dermatologist Dr. Timothy Joshin and his team of professionals can help you contour your face, contour your body, and contour your life. Dr. Joshin is one of the top injectors of Botox and facial fillers in the nation. Dr. Joshin is also an assistant clinical professor at the University of California in Los Angeles, where he trains other dermatologists in the latest techniques. Fractional CO2 lasers, sublative radiofrequency, to all therapy, the ultrasound facelift. You'll always find the latest technology at Contour Dermatology to contour your life. Our friendly staff is focused on helping you achieve the results you desire. From Botox and facial fillers, aesthetic services like facials and waxing, to cosmetic procedures such as liposuction and mini facelifts, we'll help you contour your life. In Rancho Mirage in Palm Springs, call Contour Dermatology at 1-888-977-SKIN or visit contourderm.com.
So I'm Erin Issa-Rembish, and director and editor on Spirit Will Loss.
And my name is Patrick Rembish, and I'm a co-director and also director of photography on the same movie. She's my wife. Don't try to steal her.
Welcome to Colliding Worlds. Let's talk about this movie, Spirit Will Loss. I enjoyed it. You had me in at the poster. We can talk about the artwork in a moment, but you found 3 people whose lives revolved around art, and then it was kind of taken away from them, but they seem to have found their path. Why these 3 stories?
It started with a book that I read in 2006, a nonfiction work that collected historic and contemporary stories of artists with, as the author referred to it, as transforming illnesses. And it spoke about how they basically used their art as a way to work through this illness or injury. And I gravitate to these stories for probably a host of reasons that I could maybe drum up from deep in my past that aren't necessary to bring up now. But yeah, it's something I always really gravitated towards. I think that relationship between an artistic process that we can have within ourselves and then what we can create and how we can kind of present that creation to the world and give it to others is a really kind of tremendous force, because it's something that is so personal and yet it's something that becomes a gift that connects us to the world. So
I believe, and it's kind of been the premise of the show, that art can do many things. It's a very powerful, very, very powerful thing. Mm-hmm. It's done wonders with art therapy. It's just done wonders in moving people, from writing on the wall and whatever you want to look at. The first people oppressed in any given situation are artists, whether they're writers or painters or sculptors. And you have 3 distinct stories. You have the musician, you have a photographer, and it's funny, I know another blind photographer, so I was extremely fascinated by her story. And the woman who is the boxer, painter, sculptor. What was it about these 3 stories that said to you, we got to tell them?
Well, what attracted her to those 3 stories were indeed stories. What attracted me to this film was the formal approach and the form itself, and not just on a quite banal level, oh, we need certain shots, we need certain coverage, we need certain... What was attractive is how can we actually make a movie into an artwork itself. And of course it was a very difficult question, because we had to had a cooperation of the artist for the artist to collaborate with us and be very willing participants, so that all of a sudden I'm not simply shooting an artist in their studio painting. I'm bringing the artist into a studio filled with lights and crew, and all of a sudden asking them to perform certain things, like laying, let's say, on the floor or lit only by a TV screen and quite almost naked, or this kind of images. In other words, images that go beyond simple illustrative understanding of what's being said, what's being done. And because of that, also we needed the artist to open up to us. So we would ask about not only the story, like a verbal story, tell us what happened, but rather also we would ask what kind of sounds and sights and smells and feelings they were experiencing. And then we would have to go back into the edit room and ask ourselves, what images spark up? Because again, images have to be ultimately tangible. I cannot deal with abstractions when I'm going to the set and trying to direct the crew that's going to be the next shot. And then we'd have to go back to the edit room and ask what images there's going to be. And we would go over tremendous data bank of images would gather through the years and see which images spark up those feelings in us.
And to just also maybe add to some of what you're asking, there are, tons of stories to have picked from. I mean, there are several subjects, like dozens and dozens of potentials that I was researching. Originally, we were thinking the film might include 6 artists in total. But as we were looking for certain qualities, because as he brought up that willingness to open up, that willingness to basically speak to us the way they would to themselves privately in their journal or in the bathroom mirror, I started every introduction, kind of warming up to them, but also pretty soon saying, it's really important that you will talk to me like I'm your bestest friend that you've had for a long, long time. And
it's not always possible. Not everybody is going to be like that. Some of the people we reach out to were of certain, let's say, fame caliber, and was by definition there was so much
media between them and their stories that they couldn't be so vulnerable. And vulnerability was very important.
One of the things I found when doing the show that we do is, in order for us to have a good interview like we're having now, you have to trust me. Yeah. And you have to trust me to tell your story truthfully. When we sometimes deal with artists, every once in a while you have that reluctance, like you're not going to treat them the way they want to be. And when you're telling an intimate story, which these 3 are very intimate stories, and I think 6 people would have been going,
absolutely,
where are they? They opened up, and they seem very much to trust you. Your photographer, Alice, seemed very comfortable in your hands, and when you follow her story, she has a trace of bitterness, and she also has a trace of, why are you treating me like there's something wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. It's all wrong with you. She would never have given you that if she didn't feel you were going to be truthful and gentle in the handling of her story. Yeah. And all 3 of those artists seem very willing to let you tell their story.
I mean, over the course of the shooting, we quite frankly, and it's quite almost given, we became very close friends with those people. So we'd stay at their house, eat at their table, exchange meals. So because of that, it's a very fantastic setup from that perspective. But you're right. One of the things that we're really very adamant from the get-go was to actually not to make it a disability film. We didn't want this movie to be disability, and quite frankly, actually, we didn't also want to make it art, because sometimes art is misunderstood as this kind of like a very easy way out. If you give a person who's suffering a piece of paper and a crayon, then somehow they will come through and some demon get released.
But that has to be within that person. They have to take themselves on that journey. They have to want to search for that experience. So to go and simplify it, that like this is the easy equation to pull your head out from the sand is.
This would have been an easy film to make a tearjerker. Yeah. It could have been very maudlin, very like, a very poor me. Yep. Oh, wailing and gnashing of the teeth. Yeah. You walk away from this movie and you don't get that. I mean, these people are survivors in a sense that whatever life was thrown into them, they're like, okay, yeah, I'm angry, yeah, I'm pissed off, but oh, by the way, and they move on.
Yep.
You're a musician. There's nothing worse for someone with a love of music when they can't even hear themselves. And his story was bittersweet, working on the festival and such. What was it like working with him? Because he seemed to me the most fragile of the three.
The fragility comes from the fact that, unlike the other two artists who in some strange way accepted what has happened to them, so because of that you have the boxer painter who kind of, is actually kind of glad in some strange way that that happened to her, because she found herself ultimately afterwards. I guess that's the most sweet answer of all. The blind photographer, despite of hating being blind, still keeps on producing because she keeps on seeing those images within her head. But that means still she comes from the perspective of acceptance. While the musician, who also runs one of the most successful independent music festivals in Ireland, at the very same time he's got this fantastic ear, so to speak, to pick up the greatest new up-and-coming talent in the whole country of Ireland. But he's in the process of figuring out what the future brings. And that's one of those interesting things. That's why this fragility that you speak of comes from. In other words, we didn't fully know ourselves where he's going, because quite frankly he doesn't. And that's in a way what makes his story so fascinating.
He didn't seem to know. I mean, of all of them, really the vulnerability and the fragility was with him. And even though he was continuing to work, there was part of him that seemed so disconnected from it, but at the same time, it was genuine and real. And I have to say, sometimes when you watch movies like this and documentary films, sometimes the filmmaker puts their own story into the middle of it and wants to give everybody a happy ending or make the ending worse than it needed to be. And that was not the case with this. Each of these three stories, while they connect, can stand on their own, and they were true, and they rang true. I saw the poster and was immediately sucked into the poster. When I read what the movie was about, it was it, and it was like, I'm gonna hunt these people down because I want to hear how they got involved with this story. It's a documentary, but it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like I'm sitting in somebody's living room and peering into their lives. With this movie now, you're doing the festival. Do you have release for the movie yet?
This is our world premiere. So
yeah, it's our world premiere.
This is where we start, and then
we finished the film the day before Christmas. We were accepted on a rough cut, and then didn't hear until the beginning of December that we were invited. So, we were picture locking in the beginning of December, and then it was like, nose to the grindstone to get color and sound done. And
that also means that quite how thankful we are to the documentary programmers here at Palm Springs, because
have the
somehow they have vision to see the movie that's not fully finished yet, and somehow they see enough of heart in the film to actually say like, okay, let's give those two a chance.
Where are you going with this after this festival?
There's a whole list of avalanche of festivals
that we've submitted in the last month, so we actually don't know the next,
because the movie is so still smelling of freshness, taken out of the baking. Are you
hoping to find distribution for this film so you got it to a broader audience?
Definitely.
What we definitely want is to actually start the dialogue, and on multiple levels. One of the interesting things for me is to start the dialogue about the power of images and the meaning of images, and not only on the level of like, what kind of image do I use to, let's say, sell you another piece of merchandise, because those marketers are fantastic at doing that. As a matter of fact, I go farther. I'm guilty of shooting many of those images, because my day-to-day job is to shoot commercials for tremendous amount of various brands. And because of that, there's certain a lack of going deeper with what the images are capable of. In other words, images do have power, and not only images in the context of like two-dimensional image, but rather images as an idea. And when we start accepting that ideas indeed have tremendous power, and we discover where those ideas ultimately come from, because it's not as easy to say like, 2 + 2 = 4. It's a very complex exercise, and then all of a sudden the new world opens up. So for instance, as the movie was progressing, I realized, and I come from a painting background. I used to study painting. I went to college for painting. So I assume that I understand images. I assume that I know where meaning of things in images come from. And I realized I do not. And because of that, I had to kind of like take myself back and find new sources of inspiration to search for that meaning. And literally, and the meaning of things can come from the most random places. All of a sudden you start reading philosophy, not understanding anything. And that's a great thing, because you have to almost not understand something so that something becomes part of you and becomes the essence of it. So for instance, and the same with literature. You start reading great literature, something I was not really interested before. Somehow literature for me was irrelevant, but because of this film I realized that to understand that extra meaning of things, I needed to find other references outside of film.
Sometimes what happens is it takes one thing to lead you down a different path, and no one sees the same thing. Witnesses are always very unreliable because they don't see exactly the same thing every time. You need a spark or just something to get under your, be a pebble in your shoe to get you to look at something else, and you'd be surprised where it takes you. What was great about this movie was, you may not have known these artists, you may not care about these artists, but ultimately you feel for their human condition, and it makes you more aware, and you look at columns differently, you hear sounds differently. People forget there's hours of footage sitting on the floor. Yeah. And you have to choose
many wonderful images.
And and you sit there like, wow, I need to put this and I need to put that, and you end up with, apocalypse and 4 hours of movie, and you just lose your audience. You never once in this film lose interest. And,
thank you.
And you want to know what, it's always
as an editor, that's an amazing thing to hear. So
because you have it. I've seen 26 movies in this festival, which is a lot.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're like, okay, that's 72 minutes of my life that I'm never going to get back.
Every time, yeah.
But when you watch this movie, I don't care who you are, you have to feel for them, just in the sense of your own humanity.
Well, you bring up a very important point, and Ironessa from the get-go was very adamant about it. Namely, she didn't want you to kind of just feel sad about the people. She truly wanted to. You should really talk about the difference between sympathy and empathy, because you made quite a significant point.
When you sympathize with somebody, you're like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. But you're very distant, You're just like, you're observing, and you're like, thanks, I'm glad it didn't happen to me. I mean, everybody's heard this kind of breakdown of sympathy and empathy, and it's an aspiration for, I think, most filmmakers to be making a film that provokes empathy. Every filmmaker would want you to empathize with the characters of the film and go on this experience with them and be changed. So it's not like this aspiration is something unique maybe to filmmaking. But I took it very seriously, and I really, really wanted to achieve it in what we did, and what you bring up about the human condition is certainly the thing that makes my heart beat, and pulse for me. This is who these people are and what they have gone through, what they have learned and seen and now understand. That is so unique and so different from what I will ever know or understand. And though I can't be in their shoes, I can find my own personal, unique way to search for that experience or to cultivate this in my life. Like there is no feeling bad for them or separation. If anything, there is an attraction, and if we are attracted to the complexities of being human and living, and we're not trying to cleanse our lives into perfection, our experience and richness of every day has endless potential in my book.
But it's true. I mean, and again, it goes back to the power of art, whether it's your filmmaking or the music or anything else. You are creating something for somebody else to experience, and that's going to be a unique experience to them. And it goes back to no two witnesses see the same thing. Alice, I just thought she was feisty when she was talking about how, I know what it's like to be blind because for 2 weeks I wore a blindfold, and she's like, yeah, that's really nice, but you don't patronize me. I'm I'm not patronizing you. I'm here, and she's going out there and creating, and she's very, very, very creative. But I just enjoyed listening to her speak because she was just so...
Alice is such a lovely example because she really is, like, you meet her and she's nothing but the cuddliest, sweetest woman. Like, she's not coming out with quip remarks left and right. I'm sure she, in some respect, when she sees the film today, she'll be here and Katie will be here. And they have not seen the film. They're all coming to the world premiere and experiencing it for the first time. And I think Alice will, in one respect, be slightly caught by surprise, but not because it's not because it's some way disingenuous of her whatsoever. I think she'll just be surprised that we were able to get that part of her into the film, because it's actually something that she brings out from time to time, and she's very proud of the way that she stands for the perception that people have of her abilities with her blindness and her vision.
She's not a member of the blind photographers. She's a member of the photographers club who happen to be blind.
Yes,
but that's a quite fantastic quote on many levels. And one of the things is that those people do not perceive themselves necessarily as disabled. But quite frankly, it's in a big scope of it. It's very nice to say that, but there is something else and much more complex and deeper. And what it ends up being is as follows: is that if you simply show a movie about they are not blind because, let's say, they can go and get coffee from whatever or something of this kind, then you're kind of being slightly dishonest. The magic really here is to find those ideas, kind of the ideas that you spoke about, the fact that they're looking at column in a new way, they're looking at the door in a new way, you're looking for certain sounds in a new way. In other words, find the ideas and how their stories and ideas expand your horizon as a fully sighted, your brain fully working.
This became the key, the very key component that brought it outside of that superficial, sympathetic.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens when you watch anything or you engage in a movie or an art is you want to create this dialogue with somebody else. If you had failed to do that, and if people look at this movie and they don't start talking about not so much each of these individuals, but the whole idea of what you can do when you put forward to it, then either I failed as a viewer or you failed as a director and the editor. When you watch this film, you do care about them, but there's also something else that happens.
It's a mutual thing happening that you're describing.
But the cool thing is it still goes back to something that my core believes is that art, whether it's music or movie or whatever, has the power to make you think and to start a dialogue. And not every movie and not every photo and not everything is supposed to make us happy. So we're a little uncomfortable. That's great. And if you fail to do that as a filmmaker or an entertainer or whatever, then you've done a disservice to everybody. You have an obligation to show the...
Can I just say, it's a very interesting thing because this happens even when we talk about, what our film is and try to describe to people, because we know it. We all know that feeling. We all know how that opportunity for power in art can hit us. We have those relative experiences where, we've been changed by something in a very dramatic way. But to put language to that, to sort of encapsulate it into this equation of it happens with this plus this plus this is you're going to
we became very comfortable at some point to not to find language to necessarily name some of those ideas, and that was very at first difficult for us because we assume if you do not find language, that means you don't know what you're saying. But that became something else. Namely, sometimes there are ideas that are not meant to be said. Sometimes there are ideas that are not meant to be heard. There are ideas that are not, etc., etc. And one of the things is if you imagine, for instance, about great, let's say, piece of music or great literature book or any kind of thing, and how hard, for instance, it is to translate, let's say, that book on the screen. One of the reasons is very specific, because that book found its perfect form. In other words, it really has a hard time existing as anything else. That's as something outside of written text on a page. Likewise, the piece of music that really has a hard time existing as anything else than a piece of music. In that sense, we're quite proud in a way that's so hard. It's very hard to find words to describe many of those ideas, because that means that there is a potential, tiny little potential, that maybe we find the perfect form to express some of the ideas.
It was a beautifully done movie. And I'm hoping that people who see it will walk away with something more than, wow, that felt good. There's a lot there. Each one of these people.
We hope so too.
Each one of these people are amazing in their own right. Yeah. What you were able to capture. I loved at the very end of the movie where you're showing the stills. And there's one still where I think you're talking to Katie, where you're sitting in the chair and you're like, it's like I'm watching, there's that one photo at the end where it's like, yes, I'm engaging you and I am so interested, because from your profile, you have a smile on your face. It's like, keep going, I'm loving this. And it's stay until the end, watch all the credits roll, and that was one of the best scenes, I have to say, because it made it seem like this wasn't just a job. This was an amazing project. Again, this was a very well edited movie. It works on so many levels, from the poster all the way down to the end credits. And I do watch the end credits. Spirit Will Lost, and this is just the beginning of this journey, but I invite you at any point in the game to pick up the phone and call us, and we can talk about this again.
Thank you.
I think it's one of those movies that really deserves a much broader audience, and I wish you much success with it.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela.
Cold air blasting into Canada and the U.S. will keep things frosty for most of this next week. Today, more ice, snow, and freezing rain starting to fall from Missouri to the mid-Atlantic. This woman trying to keep her digits warm in Baltimore.
I cannot feel my fingers right now, and I was contemplating wearing 2 pairs of gloves, and I was like, that'll be fine.
The frigid air is felt as far south as Alabama and Georgia. Meteorologist Derek Van Dam says the storm is sending temperatures into the record book.
We are breaking records, people. We're talking about century-old records being shattered in Lexington and Louisville, Kentucky.
Walmart will pay its employees more. The nation's largest private sector employer says that it will give 500,000 employees a raise. Starting this spring, the retailer's lowest paid workers will earn $9 an hour. Walmart has long been criticized for paying near poverty wages and for employing half of its workers on a part-time basis. I'm Molly Page.
As an entrepreneur, you're always on the go. So turn your mobile phone into a business phone system with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. Get a new business number or keep your current one. Sound professional with a main greeting and multiple extensions that forward callers to your mobile phone. You can even get voicemails transcribed. Join over 150,000 small businesses who stay connected with Grasshopper. See how it works at grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system.
I'm a mid-century architectural wonder, a house made entirely of glass. So you can imagine my fright when giant pieces of hail started falling from the sky. Did I mention I'm made entirely of glass? Everyone was running here, running there, trying to get out of the house, but what am I to do? I am the house.
Your house can't protect itself. That's why the Geico Insurance Agency helps make it easy to switch and save on homeowners insurance. You could save even more when you combine your homeowners with an existing auto insurance policy. Call Geico, go to geico.com, or visit your local office.
Contour Dermatology and Cosmetic Surgery Center has been a trusted source for cosmetic and medical dermatology for more than a decade. Board-certified dermatologist Dr. Timothy Joshin and his team of professionals can help you contour your face, contour your body, and contour your life. Dr. Joshin is one of the top injectors of Botox and facial fillers in the nation. Dr. Joshin is also an assistant clinical professor at the University of California in Los Angeles, where he trains other dermatologists in the latest techniques. Fractional CO2 lasers, sublative radiofrequency, 2-all therapy, the ultrasound facelift. You'll always find the latest technology at Contour Dermatology to contour your life. Our friendly staff is focused on helping you achieve the results you desire. From Botox and facial fillers, aesthetic services like facials and waxing, to cosmetic procedures such as liposuction and mini facelifts, we'll help you contour your life. In Rancho Mirage and Palm Springs, call Contour Dermatology at 1-888-977-SKIN or visit contourderm.com.
Tired of frizzy, curly hair? Introducing the Brazilian Blowout, the treatment that gives you wash-and-go hair for at least 3 months without compromising body and bounce. Celebs like Nicole Richie, Halle Berry, and Madonna are singing its praises. If you have frizzy, damaged, or processed hair, Brazilian Blowout will actually improve the health of color-treated hair by conditioning the hair while sealing the hair for enhanced color, reduced frizz, and a radiant shine. Put an end to bad hair days. Humidity's not a problem when you have Brazilian Blowout. Call Spectrum Salon and Spa 760-318-2944 and receive a free haircut when you book your Brazilian Blowout. And look your best without pain, surgery, or injections with Erisys Non-Surgical Body Lift. Erisys helps you lose weight, tighten loose skin, and diminish cellulite. Perfector Non-Surgical Face Treatment diminishes dark spots and facial lines. Spectrum Salon and Spa 760-318-2944 or visit SpectrumSalonandSpa.com and receive 30% off purchase of package.
The simple act of driving from point A to point B. With a driver's license, we take it for granted. But right here in the Coachella Valley, many people, because of blindness or other disability, are stuck. Their independence is compromised. That's where Desert Blind and Handicapped comes in. For the past 40 years, drivers for Desert Blind and Handicapped have been meeting disabled folks at their front door, helping them into the car, and driving them to any destination within their service area. Medical appointments, physical therapy, grocery shopping, even places to just meet friends. It's independence restored for hundreds right here in the Coachella Valley. Desert Blind and Handicapped needs your financial support. To learn more and to donate, search Desert Blind and Handicapped or simply go to desertblind.org. Think about it. You can give the simple gift of independence. Visit desertblind.org.
This is Colliding Worlds Radio. I'm your host, Angela Valenti-Romeo. Let me welcome you as we take you on another journey through the world of art. This is Angela Valenti-Romeo. This is Colliding Worlds, and we're going to continue on with another little adventure. We're at Palm Springs International Film Festival, and I was captivated by a poster, which then captivated me to a movie, and then sucked me right in, hook, line, and sinker. Spirit Will Lost was a documentary that was presented at the 26th Annual Palm Springs Film Festival. I'm going to tell you, it really captures you, because what you learn is that the human spirit is stronger than just about anything you can imagine. We already spoke to the directors and the producers. Now we're going to talk to two of the people who are intimately involved in this film. I want to welcome both of you, Katie and Alice, to Colliding Worlds, and I thank you for spending some time with us. Katie, when they approached you to work on this project, what was your thoughts?
I really didn't know what they were doing in a way. I didn't know how real it was, because I've been, on Dateline, I've been on the front page of the New York Times. I've been interviewed from a lot of places like Holland and Germany and places like that. So I didn't know if they were really for real or not. I was excited to be thought of and to be interviewed, but I really didn't know what the deal was yet. So I wasn't sure what to think, to be honest with you. I was excited for it, but I didn't really know what the vision was.
Well, now your story, you were a boxer before you were an artist, but you were a boxer. You suffered a traumatic brain injury, and that sort of started a whole new world for you, where you had to relearn everything. And then that led you back to your painting. Mm-hmm. I have to say, there's one scene where they're putting together all these small little pieces of paper, and when it's put together, it is one of the most magnificent murals I've seen in forever and a day. How do you know what you're doing? You said you sort of just start and you go. How do you keep track of all this in your mind?
That mural I made just a couple years after my head injury. And what I found after my head injury, I originally tried to paint like I did before my head injury, where I did a lot of watercolors and stuff, and my brain was very much into the pictures and trying to make them look a certain way. When I did that mural, literally it was piece by piece, and I would just be wanting to have certain images and lines and colors on a piece of paper, and then I would tack another piece of paper onto that and continue the lines. And I had no idea what I was creating. And I knew I was putting maybe I was drawing a horse's head or something, and then the next piece of paper I'd slap on there and finish his head. But I had no idea that it was going to look like it did when it came out, that I had two horses, a centaur, and who else, I don't know, fighting over a horse, and that I had a snake that went through the whole thing. I had no idea that's what was coming out.
Did you surprise yourself then with all of your work?
It surprised me, yeah, when I saw it all put together. I was very surprised.
One of the things that comes through with this particular film is that no matter what you face in life, you can find a way out. You both found a way to continue to express yourself regardless of what fate threw in your path. How did you feel, Katie? Did you feel like they found you?
This movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like they found me, yeah, and they understood me. And I felt that they took the time to get to know the real me and to allow my personality to coincide with what they were creating. They listened to me and they took the film and just let it bring me out.
I think it was hard, because you were a known personality in some circles. People knew about your injury. People knew about the movie that was loosely based on what happened to you. I was much more interested in your journey as the artist. And what I thought was wonderful was the support you had in getting back to being able to create the work, how much your work has changed from before and post-injury, but that you kept it, you kept going. You didn't seem to lose that.
Well, what I can honestly say is that I've been drawing, especially ever since I was a little kid, as soon as I could pick up a crayon. And that drawing has been my savior as long as I can remember. And coming from kind of a dysfunctional family, as most of us do, that was my way of getting my feelings out, was drawing and painting, etc., etc. And after the head injury, luckily my sister Stephanie remembered that was an outlet for me and took me to a place to do my artwork. And then I just had to paint or draw all the time. And when I'm not painting or drawing, I feel very lost. You have to understand that with the head injury, it took me a long time to talk and everything like that. And when I'm not doing any artwork at all, I feel very lost. If I couldn't do artwork, if the other side of my brain had been injured and I couldn't do artwork anymore, I don't think I would be here.
I think there's a lot of power in art, and there's a lot of power in your story. The work you do is just, it's breathtaking when you see it all put together. And whenever I saw that piece I'm like, oh my God, why don't we know this woman as an artist? And I'm hoping that this is an opportunity for people to see the work that you can do. Just like Alice, you know what? You're like one of the feistiest people I've ever heard. I love the fact that I feel like there's absolutely no filter with you. And I loved listening to when you talked, because you were like, you had such a loud, clear boom. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to meet this woman. When you saw the film for the first time, what did you think about your portrayal? Did you say, yep, that's me?
Oh, definitely it was me. It's interesting because I'm not sure that I'm a truly feisty person. But for instance, my son kept saying, well, you're just so aggressive and feisty. And I wanted to say, hey, listen, boy, you don't know. When you have to come from blindness, you got to be out in front. If you're cowering in the corner, nobody is going to pay any attention to you at all. So that's part of it. But I used to think that I was very shy and that I couldn't talk. But that's not true at all. And you know what? The great thing I did, I took improv theater classes after I was blind, and that just clicked, like, you can do anything.
Oh, I believe you can do anything.
Yeah, you can. You know, that just, the teacher, usually she would look at people, but I couldn't see her, so she would tap me on the shoulder when it was my turn to be the expert. And click, oh, you have to go at that moment and make something up in expertise you've been said you have to do. And that just opened every path for me. I wasn't scared. Nobody could. I couldn't see them out there looking at me in any funny ways. But I just thought, I have to be ahead of people, or I may not get anywhere. We have to change our ways when things like this happen. And there are a lot of blind people who just kind of sit around and whine. And that wastes my work time. I want to take photos.
You want to live. And your photos, when I saw them assembled, again, it was, if I had known the person creating had a sight problem, I would still look at them and go, wow, what a really well-composed photograph.
Yeah.
And then now I look at columns and arches. I always look at rocks. That's my thing. I take photographs of rocks. Don't ask me why. Right. I don't take people because they move. But the work. When you look at it again, it's like looking at Katie's work. You would look at it and you go, "Wow, there's an artist's hand touched this." So you're still creating and doing your photography. Do people say to you how and why and you can't?
Constantly. When they say, how can you take a photograph? They really mean you cannot take a photograph because you're blind. But they think things are in the camera. Mm-hmm. I think they think that if you don't know how to manipulate, if you can't see, but it starts in the brain. And it's not this the camera is your servant. It does what you tell it to do. You might not think it changed because the camera doesn't change. I had to change in the way I used it. The stuff that comes out of the camera might still almost look the same, but later, and you're less afraid of taking a chance.
I felt listening to you talk, it was like you didn't really have that sense of fear. It was like, I'm going to shoot it. I know what I'm seeing it. I already see it before I take that photo, and I'm going to capture it. It was like you just marched through it. You're going to do it, and you're going to do it. And then putting them together, you had a clear vision of what it should look like. And if you didn't, it would be a jumbled mess.
That's what I think.
And it's not.
Right. It's not a mess.
No.
Because the camera can perform, the chip or the sensor. It used to be the film. The film was, that was the retina, I guess, and the lens, was the iris or whatever went through. Mm-hmm. So those things were in much better shape than my failing retina. But we can use the camera, the technological parts of the camera. They work for me. I have to make them work for me. So that's what it's moving to digital. That it's like I'm trying now to draw digitally in a way.
Digital's changed the world for a lot of people, but not everybody can work it well.
Right.
What was very endearing about this movie was, again, the fact that all three of the people who were shown in this particular film didn't give up. I mean, you could have felt sorry for yourselves, and I'm sure, and at some point you have good days and bad days, but you didn't feel sorry for yourselves. Katie, you triumphed. You learned everything all over again, and you just kept plowing right through everybody. And I'm like, I want to be just like that. I mean, no, and that sense of it doesn't matter if it's within your soul, it's going to come out. And I thought that really shined through in this movie. What do you want people to see of you when they look at this? What do you hope they take away?
What do I want them to see?
Yeah, I'll start with you.
Well, I want them to see, in a sense, what I was thinking in my brain, how I was composing in my brain, and that's why I used the camera and then had a print made. And then what I wish, and sometimes they do, they talk to me about it. What I see there is this relationship to these two heads or these bodies, but can I started with that image, and did I succeed in getting the image? Or did it could also be that it changed totally, even that might work too.
I think it's, you're the artist and it comes through and people are going to see it. And Katie, again, it's like for me to see you as an artist, you know, not really fully conscious of the other story that goes around with it. I was like, why doesn't anybody know about this woman? I mean, what do you want people to take away with from this about you?
You know, my whole thought process when I came back down was, and I was struggling with relearning the language, and I had to relearn. I mean, I was in a wheelchair for a while, and just all this stuff, all this physical stuff, which pissed me off, to be honest with you. And I used that to my advantage to keep working at getting better. And I remember going somewhere with these other people that had brain injuries, and it just, I didn't like it. And I thought they were stupid, and that I came back home and I told Stephanie, I am not brain injured. And what I took from that, keeping angry and with that, was that I am going to continue to grow no matter what. And what I take from my artwork is that, first of all, when I start doing artwork, I have no idea what's going to come out. I have no idea. I might have some small thought process happening, but whatever comes out, comes out. And so for me, it's like discovering something. And it's my lifeblood. And the only thing I can say is, I know I'm not answering your question.
Yes, you are.
Okay. That lifeblood for me, if I never had a show, which I would love to have a show, but even if I never had a show, I still have to create. I have to create. I don't really have a choice. It's what makes me wake up in the morning.
I think being able to wake up in the morning and see the day as it is a miraculous thing. And again, both of you could just sit around and go, oh, poor me, and expect everybody to feel sorry for you. And then your quality of life is very different. You know, these people came into your lives. You didn't know them. You're telling them your story, and you had to trust them. And I think that they captured something wonderful. And I hope the rest of the world sees this. I'm not done with you two, because when the movie kind of quiets down, I'm going to find you both, and we're going to just talk about you as the artist, because there's wonderful stories here, and the work really is. We've seen a lot of work, and Steve will tell you, we've seen a lot of work, and sometimes it just moves you, and other times you're trying to find something nice to say about it. There's no way you're going to try to find something nice to say about the work that either one of you do. You're both brave, you're both inspirational, and the fact that you would trust two unknown people to tell your story and do it from the soul, God bless you all. I thought it was wonderful.
I have one thing to say about that. Aranessa and Patrick are two of the most wonderful people in the world in my book. Do you agree with me?
Absolutely.
They came in, and they, especially, you know, Patrick is the hands-on camera guy. He's very, very nice. And Aranessa is the kind who comes into your world and tries to understand you and make it more, I don't know the right words, but make it more about who you really are instead of trying to mold you into some thought process you may be having. Am I right about that?
Absolutely right, because they were clear with me from the beginning that this would be a collaboration. We were not going to be objects of the lens. They would have their ideas and we would have ours. So all along, it's been, I think, we've been ready, they've been ready.
And they took ideas from me, not all of them, but some of them.
Was this the first time you two met at the premiere, or had you met before the movie was finished?
No.
We saw little pieces, but they were changed here. So this is the first time I've seen the total film. And it's changed from the shorter.
And it's the first time you two have met?
Me and you.
Right.
Katie and you?
Katie and I only met yesterday.
Yeah.
At the first showing.
I heard you guys went hiking.
Yeah.
You're crazy. At least it was 117 degrees. That's why I don't have a house in Berkeley in the summer. It's 117 here. I want to tell you both that I was really hooked in right from the get-go with this movie. Your stories were rang true, and to trust them to tell your story was just a wonderful thing. And seriously, we're going to follow up with each one of you individually and just talk about your artwork, because I think that's just great. And I don't want anybody to walk away thinking this was a movie about people with disabilities. This is a movie about people who say, you know what, something got in my way, I'm crawling over it, and here I am.
Throughout the whole thing, after the head injury, all I can say for sure is that my determination was I will prevail no matter what, and I wanted to do my artwork no matter what. And it was that thought process of, I would look up at the ceiling or whatever, my idea of God, and what have you got? What are you going to, if you didn't get me then, with all the blood I lost and everything with the head injury, then it's going to take a lot for you to come down here and get me now. Try your best. But I was ready to fight.
That's why you do it.
Yeah.
I was very taken with the whole process. I was very taken with what they did finally with the film, because we didn't know Graham. We didn't know exactly what that was going to be. And I loved a lot of his music. And so I think they did a super job of really working with each of the three of us.
They did. And it flows so well.
They understood so much. So they could use their own talents and use ours alongside them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Have you got the wow factor?
Wow, you look great.
With Perfector non-surgical facelift and Aerosis body treatments only offered at Spectrum Salon and Spa, you can get the wow factor.
Wow, I look 10 years younger.
Wow, I've lost so many inches. I'm wearing my skinny jeans again.
Perfector is a relaxing facial treatment with no downtime that'll detoxify and lift your skin, giving you a younger looking glow while diminishing wrinkles and evening out your skin tone without the use of surgery, injections, or pills.
Wow, I love how my skin looks and feels.
Aerosis promotes weight loss, helps get rid of cellulite, and one 30-minute session is equivalent to 600 sit-ups.
Wow, no exercise, and I can even do it on my lunch break.
And the best part is, Spectrum Salon and Spa is offering 30% off on all packages.
Wow, I'm calling now.
Call 760-318-2944, 760-318-2944, or SpectrumSalonandSpa.com, and get the wow factor today.
The simple act of driving from point A to point B. With a driver's license, we take it for granted. But right here in the Coachella Valley, many people, because of blindness or other disability, are stuck. Their independence is compromised. That's where Desert Blind and Handicapped comes in. For the past 40 years, drivers for Desert Blind and Handicapped have been meeting disabled folks at their front door, helping them into the car, and driving them to any destination within their service area. Medical appointments, physical therapy, grocery shopping, even places to just meet friends. It's independence restored for hundreds right here in the Coachella Valley. Desert Blind and Handicapped needs your financial support. To learn more and to donate, search Desert Blind and Handicapped or simply go to desertblind.org. Think about it. You can give the simple gift of independence. Visit desertblind.org.